Hello and welcome to Talking Music, where every song has a story. My name's Paul, and on this channel we like to get behind the story of a song, come up with some information, some fascinating facts, even some secrets about the song in question. This is today's song, a classic, The Beatles, and Get Back. It's one of their most famous and best songs, and written and recorded against a backdrop of disharmony and irritation among the Fab Four. Get Back is remembered for being the most famous part of the rooftop session, the Beatles' last live performance on the roof of Apple Records in Savile Row, London. This session was shot on the 30th of January 1969 and was a fly-on-the-wall look at the band creating an album. The rooftop concert was the climax to this fly-on-the-wall project and was to mark a return to their rock roots in an effort to restore band unity when business issues and personal chaos was destroying the band. Hence the title, Get Back. Since 1966, the Beatles had concentrated on their recording career, producing music in the studio. Their live shows had been a cause of frustration to them because of Beatlemania. The crowd screamed so much, the music couldn't be heard. Their concerts were always very short too, sometimes just 30 minutes because of security reasons. By late 68, they intended to perform live again and have a recorded for TV concert. Fans could win tickets via the official fan club, but these shows were postponed because of the fractious working relationships within the band. Ringo at one point had walked away for 2 weeks. The Beatles, though, had recorded a few months before a promotional film for Hey Jude in front of a live audience, without any tricks, and the intention was to still play live because of the enjoyable Hey Jude promotion, but the decision as to where to play became a problem. In a TV studio maybe? A gallery? A European amphitheatre? The White Album had exhausted the group's pool of material, and they wanted to perform new songs. This was also another problem. Paul had a few on the boil, John had bits, George had a number of songs, but was having trouble getting Paul and John to listen to them. This is what led George to walk out. He only agreed to return if the live show idea was scrapped and the fly-on-the-wall documentary concentrated on the making of the new album. The idea of the Beatles playing live was still workable if it was spontaneous, secretive, surprising, or even all three. Playing live would mean the Beatles would have to get back to their basics with little studio production, just simple takes, no overdubs.
Jojo was a man. A bit faster, do you think? A bit faster.
To help this, George brought in an old acquaintance of the band, keyboard player Billy Preston. He did this for 2 reasons. One, by playing with the band it would help with the live sound, keyboards. And 2, George was hoping that with an outsider among them, the band members might be on better behaviour. The rooftop session lasted around 40 minutes in all. It wasn't a paid-for show, and many people who heard the show couldn't see the Beatles. Indeed, many people didn't even know they were the Beatles because the songs they were hearing were new and therefore unfamiliar. Songs like Don't Let Me Down and I've Got a Feeling and Dig a Pony, and the last one they played was Get Back. So this meant that the last song the Beatles ever played together as a band was Get Back, because they unofficially disbanded a few months later in September 1969. The Fly-on-the-Wall documentary was directed by Michael Lindsay Hogg. With the concert idea now pretty much dead in the water, there still needed to be a climax to the film. The only decision the band could agree on was, rather than heading off somewhere exotic or performing on a ship or whatever other fanciful idea had been suggested, the band were happy to spend the least amount of time with each other by moving upstairs to the roof of their office and playing live there. So, lunchtime, Thursday, January the 30th, 1969, the Beatles assembled on the rooftop of number 3 Savile Row in London, accompanied by Billy Preston on organ. It was a grey and cold day. John wore Yoko's fur coat. Ringo wore his wife Maureen's red plastic raincoat. While the Beatles played on the roof, Lindsay Hogg's cameraman caught the action, and engineer Glyn Johns recorded the audio in the basement. It was an iconic event, and it literally stopped the traffic.
This is roll 562A, guide track on the show day for cameras A, 4 cameras, 1 is wild. The slate number for this roll is all cameras, take 1.
Running.
We're running. Rolling on 9 on. Right. All cameras, take 1. Okay. Right. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah.
As the band performed a third rendition of Get Back, the police turned up after complaints from local businesses about the noise. During that final rendition, the police turned off John and George's amps and Paul sang an ad-lib. "You've been playing on the roofs. You know your mama doesn't like it. She's going to have you arrested." Nobody got arrested that day, and as the dying notes of Get Back faded away, Ringo's wife Maureen cheered, and Paul said, "Cheers, Mo." And John said, "I'd just like to say thank you on behalf of the group, and I hope we've passed the audition." This banter was used on various edits of Get Back. The rooftop session made news that day, but it wasn't until the release of the documentary now titled Let It Be that people began to understand what it was all about. In the Beatles' early days, they were very much a live band, playing for hours, night after night in clubs. Get Back, the single, harkened back to those days and was marketed by Apple with the slogan, "The Beatles, as nature intended." The song was later described by Paul as music to roller coast by. It turned into another blockbuster hit. Looking at the 2 big markets, firstly the UK singles chart, it went to number 1, 28th of April 1969, and it stayed there for 6 weeks. Went on to become the 8th bestseller in the UK for the year 1969, with 500,000 record sales, which is enough to turn it in the United Kingdom into a gold record. Sugar Sugar the Archies was the bestseller that year, though you could argue, if you take 1970 sales into account, it was My Way from Frank Sinatra. Looking at the US Billboard chart, its progress up the chart was almost as fast. It went straight in at number 1 in the UK, but it only took 2 weeks to get to number 1 on the Billboard chart, which is really fast. In at number 10, then the next week number 3, then the third week at number 1, where it stayed for 5 weeks in America. And for a couple of weeks it was number 1 in the US and the UK at the same time. In the States it went on to be the 25th bestseller of the year, and Sugar Sugar the Archies again was the bestseller. But it turned gold in America with 1 million record sales, 3 million worldwide as a single. Over the years, Beatles fans have tried to find hidden meanings in the lyrics of Get Back. Was Jojo based on Joseph, Linda McCartney's ex-husband, who was actually from Tucson, Arizona? Paul denied this and said relations between Linda, Joseph and himself were convivial. And in 1980, John Lennon said that Paul looked at Yoko when he sang the line, "Get back to where you once belong," suggesting, of course, he was disrespecting her. Whether or not this was true, it certainly shows the suspicion and the paranoia harbouring within the group at that time. Billy Preston's solo on the song was spontaneous. They told him up on the roof to take a solo. He wasn't expecting it, as it never happened in rehearsals. But he rose to the occasion, and what's more, he got a credit on the song, the only time another artist ever did on a Beatles record. And Get Back was not only a song, but an occasion. The last time the most successful band of all time, the most loved too, would ever play together as a band. The rest of 1969 saw John and George concentrate on solo efforts for the Beatles, while Paul started writing music that would feature in his own solo career. And as George said, all things must pass, and 1969 was the year of the Beatles passing, unofficially. But there was no decay at all in their music. Get Back, the Beatles. And that's it for another Talking Music, where every song has a story. I hope that you've enjoyed this video, and we've got plenty more videos like this on other very well-known songs. All you need to do to see them is subscribe to the channel, and you do that just by clicking on the subscribe button that you can see on the video now. And of course, it's absolutely free. So hopefully I'll catch you in the next video. So until then, I wish you well. Bye-bye.